What's happening, y'all? Welcome inside the Fantasy Stock Exchange. Bush coming at you solo today to bring you the Week 9 trade targets. As I do every Tuesday, you guys know I bring you 5 buy lows or 5 buys that I'm targeting in fantasy football right now, and 3 guys that I will be selling high based on their recent performances. As always, if you enjoy this video, hit the like button, comment any of your thoughts down below, trade questions, start, sit, whatever you guys want, comment that down below, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're going to hit the intro, and then we're going to get right into this. You know the drill. It's a similar theme to what we do every single week. We're always willing to buy low on elite talents because they have suppressed value due to the market perception. Basically, if players own these assets in fantasy right now and they're underperforming, they're going to start to think, hey, maybe this guy isn't it. Maybe this guy isn't the RB1, RB2, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 that I initially thought. And then they're going to be more susceptible to trading. So as I always talk about too, quick market spiel, quick, stock market example, we want to think of this like stock trading, right? The richest and the best stock traders in the world trade the blue chips, right? They trade the Teslas, the Walmarts, the Apples, the Amazons. They're not looking for the get-rich-quick sheet penny stock, to quote Wolf of Wall Street. They're looking to trade and make incremental profits on the elite assets, which is what we're doing in fantasy right now. These trades are much safer, obviously, because we know that they are known commodities that we're going after. We're not trading away for a guy that's never done it before. So that's what we're doing here today. The famous quote from the Wolf of Wall Street, of course, is first we pitch them the blue chips, the IBM, such and such, and then we unload the dog shit. We're not unloading any dog shit here. We're just pitching them the blue chips, and we're taking the blue chips away from them. So before I get into this, quick review of the guys that I did talk about last week. Travis Kelce and Kyler Murray have yet to fully pay off, obviously, if you did buy them low, per my advice last week, but I still believe in those guys as buy low candidates, so you can kind of lump them in with the guys that I'm talking about today. And of course, Aaron Jones was a guy, T. Higgins, Brandon Cooks. Those 3 guys definitely did pay off on the buy low advice I talked about last. Their windows are closing if you do want to buy those guys still. But the first guy that we're going to talk about today is Dalvin Cook. And me and Danny talked about this yesterday on the live stream about who is the RB1 rest of the season, right? Because we don't have Derrick Henry anymore. Christian McCaffrey is out for a couple weeks. Saquon Barkley presumably coming back this week. But who is the RB1 rest of the season? And in my opinion, it's probably Alvin Kamara. But Dalvin Cook is right there. Austin Eckler, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey. Those guys are right there as the RB1 rest of season. With Dalvin Cook, you're getting a bona fide top 3 running back that is not performing like a bona fide top 3 running back right now. So it ain't going to be cheap. Like I talked about, this is Amazon. This is Tesla that we're looking at right now. But he is, down 10 points of, what he's normally at right now. 18 plus carries, 20 plus opportunities in every game except for the one that Dalvin Cook was injured in. With Dalvin Cook, you're getting a discount on him because 1, he's missed a game due to injury and everybody knows he has lingering injury concerns. 2, he's been on a bye already, so he was out of sight, out of mind for that week. He's currently the RB17 in points per game with only 1 performance over 18 half PPR fantasy points. So Dalvin Cook is not the elite top 3 running back that these guys have drafted in the top 3, probably second overall in their drafts. But he is still that guy. He's still going to produce like that the rest of the season. He just hasn't done it yet. He has the Ravens, Chargers, and Packers upcoming, which all project to be very high-scoring games. The Chargers and Packers both being very bad run defenses, ranking bottom 3 in rush defense DVOA, with the Ravens being about league average. So Dalvin Cook, his buying window is going to close shut in the coming weeks, which is why I think, you need to buy him 10% lower than what he's normally going to be at a couple weeks from now. Dalvin Cook, you can see on the screen, has been traded for Joe Mixon, Chris Carson, Terry McLaurin, and Rashad Bateman for the Vikings backfield. Dalvin Cook for Cordero Patterson and Chase Edmonds. Dalvin Cook for Darrell Williams, James Conner, and Elijah Mitchell. These are exactly the type of trades you want to be making. You want to unload the dog shit. Trade them these penny stocks, James Conner, Elijah Mitchell. Add those 2 guys together and get a blue chip Amazon stock like Dalvin Cook. That's exactly what you want to be doing in fantasy all season long. You want to be making incremental upgrades to make sure by the end of the season, you have that elite force of a team and you have guys like Dalvin Cook on your team to help you lead that charge. So number 2, Nick Chubb, another guy that is a known stock, a known commodity. Part of the reason I like doing live streams on Monday mornings is because a lot of you guys come at me with your rapid reaction, right? A lot of you guys talked about the hesitancy with Nick Chubb. Is Dearness Johnson going to be a thing? Is Nick Chubb, done? Is he not, the guy that we thought he was going to be? The reason I'm talking about Nick Chubb today is because a lot of you guys, I got a resounding number of questions about Nick Chubb, whether you should trade him, buy him, sell him, hold him, whatever. I figure if y'all are thinking it in the live stream, then your league mates are thinking it that aren't watching this YouTube channel. So I have absolutely no concerns with Nick Chubb going forward. Nick Chubb, I know exactly what he is. He's been in the NFL for a long time now. He's elite runner of the football. He's one of the best running backs in the league at running the ball. He's not going to get a whole lot of pass catching involvement, but he is going to break off big plays. He's going to score touchdowns, and he's in a good offense with a good offensive line, albeit a little banged up right now. This matchup in this game script that he came off of against the Steelers was a tough matchup to perform in. And I 100% believe that he was limited and he was being ramped up because he was coming off of an injury as well. We know that Nick Chubb is without Kareem Hunt in his backfield right now. And a lot of people, pose the question, is Dearness Johnson going to get the Kareem Hunt role because he performed well in Nick Chubb's absence? And I basically said, no, he's not going to get the Kareem Hunt role. And he kind of did this past week. And like I said, the reason I think that is because he was coming off of an injury, Nick Chubb. I think this week we're going to see a better Nick Chubb than we've seen in years past. We're going to see a 60, 70% snap share Nick Chubb when normally he's about a 45 to 55% snap share Nick Chubb. He's going to get an uptick in his volume, and the schedule coming up is juicy for him. He has the Bengals this week, Pats, Lions, the next 3 games. All 3 of these teams are giving up top 8 adjusted fantasy points allowed to the running back position. Nick Chubb is in a prime position to capitalize on his investment if you buy low on him right away. Right away, he has an easy matchup, and it's going to get even easier as the weeks go along with the Pats and Lions the next 2 games after this week against the Bengals. As you guys can see on the screen, Nick Chubb is a legitimate buy low candidate. Nick Chubb and Mark Andrews were traded for Najee Harris. Again, give me Nick Chubb and Mark Andrews there. Nick Chubb was traded away for Marquise Brown and Tony Pollard. Easily smash Nick Chubb there. Nick Chubb and Noah Fant for Tyler Lockett. Nick Chubb and Noah Fant for George Kittle and Jalen Waddle. Nick Chubb and Jalen Waddle for Jamar Chase. Nick Chubb for Deontay Johnson and Myles Gaskin. You are getting a legitimate discount on a stud back-end RB1, mid RB1, as long as Kareem Hunt is out. He is a guy that I think everybody should be putting out offers for right now in your leagues, because you can probably upgrade from your current running back. Maybe you have Leonard Fournette. Maybe you have, whoever, Darrell Henderson. Go out and put an offer. You might even be able to get Nick Chubb plus for Darrell Henderson right now. So that's kind of my thoughts on Nick Chubb, a guy that I'm absolutely buying right now. Like I said, blue chip stock that you're getting at a pretty decent discount right now. So Terry McLaurin, the next guy that we're going to talk about. Terry McLaurin is a stud. He is being weighed down by his offense, which is why people are hesitant on Terry McLaurin to some extent, but he's still seeing elite usage. In his offense, he's seeing 30% of the targets, 38% of the end zone targets, and nearly 50% of the team's air yards. As you guys can see on the screen, Terry McLaurin is currently the wide receiver 10 in expected fantasy points earned right now, but he is only wide receiver 21 in actual fantasy points per game right now. So again, positive regression type of candidate. Again, he's not going to perform above expectation for the most part because he is in a bad offense with a bad quarterback, but Terry McLaurin should be doing better than he is. And anytime you have a discrepancy like that, it's why you see a lot of the other guys that have basically been buy low candidates in the past for me. Calvin Ridley's, Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, DJ Moore, all these guys are kind of performing below expectation based on what their volume and their target shares are. Whereas Terry McLaurin is no exception to that rule. So ideally he'd have a better quarterback, but now is the perfect time to trade for Terry McLaurin. One, he's on bye, so he's going to be out of sight, out of mind, especially those of you that are 6-2, 7-1, 8-0, and you guys need a guy to put you over the top for the playoff push. Terry McLaurin's the perfect type of guy to do that for you. The Washington football team is also going to be getting healthier in the number of weeks that are coming up, with Antonio Gibson getting a rest week, with Logan Thomas probably coming back from injury as well. Maybe Curtis Samuel even gets out there. That's going to improve the offense overall. Offensive line probably dealing with some injuries as well. Number 3 is Ryan Fitzpatrick also was set to return for week 10 initially when he was ruled out. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to happen necessarily, but I do think Ryan Fitzpatrick can come back by the end of the season. So if you're, like I said, 6-2, 7-1, 8-0, and you want to buy Terry McLaurin with the anticipation that towards the back half of the season, he's going to really pay off for you in the playoffs, then he's going to have Ryan Fitzpatrick by then. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is an upgrade as a passer to what Taylor Heineke presents. And number 4, his schedule is fairly easy the rest of the season. He has Tampa Bay, Carolina, Seattle, Vegas, and then Dallas, Philly in the playoffs for week 14 to 17. And basically with Terry McLaurin, you're getting a guy that, like I said, is dominating his team's targets. So if anything improves in his situation, like I said, Ryan Fitzpatrick comes back, team gets healthier, whatever the case is, that's going to upgrade Terry McLaurin overall. And like I said, Carolina is really the only tough matchup that they have the rest of the season. Tampa Bay, Seattle, Las Vegas, these guys aren't really scaring anybody. And then Dallas and Philly have been okay against wide receivers, but those divisional matchups you can kind of always throw out the window in terms of who's good against what. And like I said, they have those guys in the playoffs. So as you can see on the screen right now, Terry McLaurin is being traded for a pretty low amount of value right now. I circled and highlighted specific trades that I actually really like. Terry McLaurin and Saquon Barkley, somebody got in exchange for Dalvin Cook. I know Dalvin Cook is a buy low candidate for me, but if you can get that for Dalvin Cook, then I'm absolutely making that deal. Terry McLaurin was, acquired straight up for Josh Jacobs. I think this is basically a perfect example of how to take advantage of people needing running backs, right? If anybody lost Derrick Henry that has Terry McLaurin on their team, they're going to be panicking. They're going to be like, holy shit, I don't have, my RB1 anymore. If you can trade them a guy like Josh Jacobs for Terry McLaurin and basically rob them blind of the fact that they're way too overinvested in how good their running back core is, then that is an awesome trade to make. Terry McLaurin and Christian McCaffrey were acquired for Tyler Lockett and Ezekiel Elliott. Not sure what that guy's doing at all. And any receiver right now that's performing well that maybe you don't believe in to the point that Terry McLaurin is going to be long-term, Robert Woods, Adam Thielen, Michael Pittman Jr., these guys are performing well right now. If you can trade those guys straight up for Terry McLaurin, maybe if you can even get Terry McLaurin plus for some of those guys, I think that's an awesome move to make as well. So moving on from Terry McLaurin to Chase Claypool, another guy that I'm absolutely buying low right now. Again, not necessarily a blue chip guy, but a guy that has a lot of talent and is performing well currently in the season. The big problem for maintaining consistency for a guy like Chase Claypool has actually been playing time. It hasn't been Big Ben's arm or anything like that most people probably think. The big problem for maintaining consistency for Chase Claypool is that he simply hasn't been on the field as much as the other receivers in his offense. As a rookie wide receiver, Chase Claypool only ran 65.9% of the team's routes. And prior to Juju Smith-Schuster going out in week 6 with an injury, he was only running 67% this year. So this is a guy that actually didn't really see a huge uptick from his rookie year to his sophomore season, and targets have never been a problem for Chase Claypool. He commanded 25% targets per route run as a rookie and 23% targets per route run before Juju's injury. Now, what we're seeing with Chase Claypool is that he's fully entrusted with a starting role with Juju out of the lineup. 87% of the routes in week 6 before the bye, and 97%, even more than Deontay Johnson, which is the first time that's ever happened in his career, following the bye this past week. So Bears, Lions, Chargers, and Bengals the next few weeks. Only the Chargers have really been tough against wide receivers of that group. So 3 of his next 4 matchups are pretty favorable. Look to capitalize on running back needy teams. Like I said, if the Derrick Henry owner has Chase Claypool, send him a Josh Jacobs, send him a Damian Harris, send him a middling running back for a guy like Chase Claypool. And again, you might even be able to get something on top of that for one of these running backs, or use wide receivers, like I said, who have been performing lately in that wide receiver 3 range, like Christian Kirk, like Cole Beasley, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Jones, anybody like that. You can probably trade straight up for Chase Claypool, maybe even get something on top of it. Like I said, Chase Claypool was traded straight up for Marvin Jones. Chase Claypool and Stephon Diggs were acquired for Jamar Chase in the San Fran defense. Again, easy trade to make there. Moving on now to the 5th and final trade targets, I would say, of the video. If you guys are in need of some wide receiver depth, these are 2 guys that I think you can go out and acquire that have a chance to really return on the value that you're going to get for them. Emmanuel Sanders and Jarvis Landry. Emmanuel Sanders specifically is coming off of a donut game, which saw him catch 0 of his 6 targets. I think he's going to be just fine going forward. He's been playing the number 2 big play role in this offense, so he's going to have some boomer bust weeks here and there. But Josh Allen, the Bills' passing offense, is enough to sustain him more often than not. So if you need a wide receiver 3, if you need a flex option, Emmanuel Sanders can be had on the cheap right now. Same goes for Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry has seen 9 targets per game since returning from his injury, and he saw his snap spike last week from 54% in week 7 to 90% after a ramp-up game, right? Because he was coming off a multi-week injury in week 7. They weren't going to play him 90% of the snaps right away. They usually ramp players up coming off of multi-week injuries. And we saw Jarvis Landry get back to his full workload, 10 targets in the game last week. He's an every week flex play going forward that should be available for a cheap price. Again, you could probably trade middling RB3s like Dearness Johnson for Jarvis Landry right now. Emmanuel Sanders on the screen right now, you can see was traded for Zach Moss, Melvin Gordon, Josh Jacobs, Noah Fant. Again, some of these trades are better than others, but if you can get Emmanuel Sanders for Zach Moss or Melvin Gordon, I think that's a phenomenal deal to make. Now, moving from the buy lows, we're going to get into the sell highs, and we're going to start with Elijah Mitchell. And this one kind of hurts a little bit because Elijah Mitchell is a guy that I really liked in the draft process. And this is really all about perceived value for Elijah Mitchell, right? He's a penny stock that's on the rise. The reality is he's a 2-down running back for an offense that's about middle of the NFL. That's the reality of the situation. Elijah Mitchell is playing well. He looks good, but his role for fantasy is going to be more unpredictable than he's been recently, right? The reality of the situation is he's been overperforming relative to the role that he has, and he has a number of concerns, right? One, it's Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan will change at any given point, right? He could throw Trey Sermon in there next week for 15 carries, and it wouldn't shock any of us. He could throw JaMychal Hasty in there for 15 carries, and it wouldn't shock any of us. So there's always the Kyle Shanahan risk. Number two, Jeff Wilson will be coming back soon, and that's going to shake up this backfield a little bit. And we don't know if Elijah Mitchell is going to maintain that goal line role that has helped keep him very fantasy relevant. And number three is that there was rumblings last week that Trey Lance might get in there as a starting quarterback, which will hurt Elijah Mitchell's outlook, because in week 5, when Trey Lance actually started, Elijah Mitchell only saw 9 carries because Trey Lance was carrying the bulk of the work on the ground. And that's going to hurt Elijah Mitchell from a volume perspective too. So there's a number of concerns that we have with Elijah Mitchell. If you can get solid RB2, maybe even back-end RB1 value for Elijah Mitchell in a trade, I'd probably make that move. Now, I'm not force selling him. I don't think he's going to be terrible going forward, but if you can get elite running back value using Elijah Mitchell as part of a package deal, then I'm absolutely looking to make a trade like that. And you can see trades are happening where that is happening, right? Elijah Mitchell was acquired for Zeke Elliott and Kyler Murray. Again, that is an easy trade to make. Elijah Mitchell for Travis Kelce and Kenyon Drake. Give me Travis Kelce side there. Elijah Mitchell for Mike Evans. Give me Mike Evans there. Elijah Mitchell for Deontay Johnson. Again, if you can get assets that we know what we're getting, we know that they're safe going forward for a guy like Elijah Mitchell, that is something I'm absolutely willing to do. Again, the Derrick Henry owner is probably panicking at running back. If you want to shop them Elijah Mitchell for one of their wide receivers, or for, an elite tight end that they have, maybe even Kyler Murray plus a wide receiver if they have that on their team, that is something I'm looking to do. So number 2 sell high candidate on the list is Michael Pittman Jr. Anytime somebody has big blow up games, I'm always interested in shopping them. Not that I don't believe in Michael Pittman, same with Elijah Mitchell, but if I can parlay his great performances that he's had the last couple of weeks into an elite player, then I will absolutely do that. And if you have both of these guys on your team, take Pittman plus Mitchell and go after Dalvin Cook, go after DeAndre Swift, go after Saquon Barkley, go after Christian McCaffrey, and see if you can get that done, because I'm willing to bet some people will have the recency bias that you can trade guys like that for elite options like Dalvin Cook. So as you guys can see on the screen, Michael Pittman Jr. and Joe Mixon traded for DeAndre Swift and Kyle Pitts. Easy trade to make. Michael Pittman and George Kittle traded away for Travis Kelce and Jerry Jeudy. Somebody got DeAndre Swift straight up for Michael Pittman. Again, recency bias will set in for a lot of people. Michael Pittman was traded for Tyler Lockett and Chase Claypool. Again, I think that's a phenomenal trade to make. I would actually prefer Chase Claypool straight up to Michael Pittman, but if you can get a guy like Lockett on top of that, who's going to get Russell Wilson soon, I also think that's a phenomenal trade to make. And the final sell high candidate of this list is James Conner. James Conner currently has 8 rushing touchdowns on the season. It is equivalent to 52% of his total fantasy production. Now, he's a touchdown dependent guy and he's in a great offense, sure, but eventually Kyler Murray's going to score some rushing touchdowns. Eventually they're going to throw some passing touchdowns in the red zone. Eventually Chase Edmonds is going to get a couple rushing touchdowns, and James Conner isn't going to score a rushing touchdown every single game. They play Carolina and San Fran the next 2 games, which are tough matchups for running backs. So I think he is the perfect sweetener in a trade to help you upgrade, right? Like I said already, take Pittman, take Elijah Mitchell, take Khalil Herbert, take somebody that's performing well, add in a guy like James Conner, and upgrade to a Stephon Diggs, upgrade to a DeAndre Swift, upgrade to a Najee Harris, a Jonathan Taylor, a Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Aaron Jones, whatever you can do. If you can take 2 guys that are performing well, that are not elite assets, and turn them into elite assets, that's always what we're looking to do in fantasy. Like I said, James Conner was traded up for Brandon Cooks. Give me Brandon Cooks rest of the season. James Conner and Brandon Cooks traded for Justin Jefferson. Perfect example of what I just talked about. You take a guy that's been performing well, like Brandon Cooks, take a guy like James Conner who's also been performing well, and you get yourself an elite asset in Justin Jefferson. So like I said, if you guys enjoyed this video, again, leave a like on the video, comment any of your thoughts down below, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the 1st of January. So if you haven't already done so, if you found some value in this video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Quick plug that I want to throw out here. If you guys are interested in supporting us in any way, you can go to underdogfantasy.com. Deposit using promo code FSE. You'll get 100% match back on whatever you deposit. And using our promo code will also get you access to our website, which have our rest of season rankings, our weekly rankings to help you with start sit decisions, and our dynasty rankings if you play dynasty as well. Also, if you're looking to support us, you can go to our website and book a fantasy football consultation with either myself and Danny, or just Danny, and we can talk about whatever you want. You want to talk about your fantasy team, trades that you should make, waiver pickups, whatever you want to talk about, how to help start your set your lineup, dynasty moves that you want to make. We will talk with you for 30 minutes on a Zoom call and basically hash out anything that we have to do. I did one with Efren the other day. Shout out to him. And if he's watching this video, I want him to comment down below if he enjoyed that and if it was worth the money. So peace out, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.